Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Lovely to have you here. Please feel free to put in the chat where you're joining us from. And if you have a cup of tea or some other warm beverage, I'd love to know what you're drinking today as we sit together in our cozy space here. I know some of you, it's probably very early in the morning, the West Coast people. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in Ireland, so it's perfect tea time for me, but you may be having your morning cuppa. I'm having my yogi throat comfort tea, which is one of my favorites to drink while I'm teaching because it's very soothing. So welcome everybody, and it's always delightful to be here with you, and we have another month for our tea with the Abbess. Ooh, drinking Monk's Blend tea. I want to know, Martina, what's in your Monk's Blend tea? That's lovely. Wonderful coffee and coffee with vanilla soy creamer. Coffee is very welcome. Decaf Earl Grey tea. Oh, it's just fun to see Earl Grey from Granville Island Tea Company. Lovely. Okay. Well, before I get too caught up in all of the teas, I just want to say thank you for joining me today for this mini session where I'm going to lead us in a meditation time. And then I'll talk a little bit about our April programs, and then there'll be a chance at the end for some questions and comments and so forth. So if you have any questions you've been dying to ask an online Abbess, or anything you want to know about the Abbey in general or in particular, feel free to tuck that question away until we get towards the end of our time. And yeah, so I think we'll move into our meditation time here. And what I've been thinking a lot about as we move into this is how hard it is to be alive at this time of the kind of unfolding of human history with all that's going on in the world. And how do we sustain ourselves, and how do we keep ourselves renewed and refreshed, and how do we maintain some connection to a sense of hopefulness so that we can continue showing up in the world as the gifts that we are, the gifts that we are, and the gifts that we have to bring to the human community and to the earth community. Each of us has our own little treasure to carry into the world, and we each go through different seasons of discernment to listen to how that might be manifested or might be expressed or shared with the world. And so today what we're going to do is I'm going to invite us into a little bit of breathing. Then I'm going to invite us into a Lectio Divina practice with a quote from the wonderful mystic Howard Thurman. And we'll have a little bit of silence at the end of that. And then I'm going to play a song for you from T. Martin, who's going to be joining Simon and me on Monday for the contemplative prayer service. And then you'll have a little chance for reflection, and then we'll share some images in the chat. So that's kind of where we're going in these next maybe 20 minutes for our meditation time. So what I'd like to do is invite you to take a few nice deep breaths. And as you deepen your breath, become aware of your body. How is your body today? And bringing some softening to any places of holding or tightness. So that might be through stretching or shifting, or simply bringing your breath, directing it to this place in your body. Maybe letting the exhales out with a nice sigh, letting that sigh create some more softening and release. And letting your breath carry your awareness into the sanctuary of the heart, to that place where the divine spark shimmers forth, a place where the mystics tell us that the divine is always with us, and resting there for a moment, simply in that beautiful gift of being in that sacred presence, with nothing to do. And noticing even in that letting go of doing for a moment, if there might be even another layer of softening of the body, softening of the thoughts. And then as you continue to breathe, I invite you to just focus for a few moments on the inhale and the exhale. And as you breathe in, I invite you to think of that very first breath that you took when you were first born. That moment that you came out of your mother's womb and you took in that first breath of life. And then as you exhale, to hold with compassion that very last breath that you will take at the end of your life, that breath that will lead you across that threshold into the great mystery. And so as you breathe in and as you breathe out, calling to mind this first breath, the initiator of life, the last breath, that breath of crossing over the threshold. And continuing that rhythm for a few breath cycles, and just to notice that rhythm of life and death, and then new life, and crossing over that threshold. And just holding that rhythm in your body, that awareness of how life and death are so intimately intertwined, the newness and the endings, continually rising and falling one after another. And then I'm going to read you this quote from Howard Thurman and invite you to listen with the ears of your heart for a word or a phrase that's shimmering for you or calling to you in some way. An endless process of births is the perpetual answer of life to the fact of death. It says that life keeps coming on, keeps seeking to fulfill itself, keeps affirming the margin of hope in the presence of desolation, pestilence, and despair. So noticing if there is a word or a phrase in that text that might be calling to you for a little attention, maybe challenging you or shimmering for you in some way. And just letting that echo gently in your heart. And then listening to the text again. An endless process of births is the perpetual answer of life to the fact of death. It says that life keeps coming on, keeps seeking to fulfill itself, keeps affirming the margin of hope in the presence of desolation, pestilence, and despair. So letting that word or phrase unfold in your imagination, making some room in your heart for images, feelings, memories, welcoming in whatever is arising in response. And then listening to the text one more time. An endless process of births is the perpetual answer of life to the fact of death. It says that life keeps coming on, keeps seeking to fulfill itself, keeps affirming the margin of hope in the presence of desolation, pestilence, and despair. So listening now for whatever sense of invitation might be arising for you in this moment right now, in this season of your life, listening for any call to a new awareness. And then just taking a moment to gaze gently on this icon that our wonderful artist Marcy Hall created for us, of Thurman with his beloved oak tree that he writes about, the tree that gave him much inspiration as a child and a deep sense of connection and kinship to all of creation. And so receiving that image and seeing if it adds any other layers to your sense of invitation. Holding that possibility open gently. And then taking a couple more nice deep breaths and letting go of words and images for a few moments, resting into the silence and listening and being, just being again in that space of kinship with the Holy One. And then I'm going to listen to a song as the last part of our meditation together. This is also a song about life, affirming hope in the midst of despair. And invite you to listen, continue listening with the ears of your heart. And again, noticing if there's any other layers to this sense of invitation that you're hearing.
May this body be a bridge for the healing of this land. May the river through us, cleansing greed from our hands. May this body be a bridge from the water for the healing of this land. May the river flow through great mother, cleansing greed from our hands. To this land, may this body be a bridge from the water for the healing of this land. May the river flow through great mother, cleansing greed from our peace to this land. We are born from the water. We are made from the land. Teach us, oh great mother. To bring peace to this land. May this body be a bridge for the healing of this land. May the river flow through us, cleansing greed from our hands.
Taking a couple of moments just to let the song continue to echo in your heart. And then we're going to just take a couple of minutes for a little bit of reflection. If you have a journal, you might want to write down anything that arose during the Lectio Divina or the song, any sense of invitation or images that came. Where do you witness life continuing to arise in the midst of death? And what brings you hope? So we'll take a couple of minutes of quiet just to let that percolate. What do you want to remember? Taking another minute or so, and if you'd like to put an image into the chat, it'd be lovely to hear what's arising in our collective hearts. So we already have a couple of images here, so I'll read some of these out. The wildflower blooming through the cracked pavement, dandelion or thistle, messengers of hope. Beautiful image. The endless process of the seasons gives me hope. Spring follows winter always, yes. The birds still sing, the sun keeps shining, the moon continues to wax and wane. Sliver of sunrise between dark earth and heavy clouds. This moment with all of you, a new friendship born out of shared grief. Being with people who are working for justice in the midst of threats by those who object to change. Even after a cold, dry winter, the buds are lifting, the birds are finding their songs. Nature, the waves of the ocean, our body as a bridge. This is a beautiful, beautiful poem here we're creating together of hope and wonder. Life is always seeking to fulfill itself, the sheer resilience of life, and humanity gives me hope, power in the positive rebirth of self, the beautiful faces of my smiling grandchildren in their innocence, reaching arms to be held and kissed. When I see new shoots growing from rotted tree stumps, it feels like so much is possible. May my body be a bridge for the healing of the young ones in my own family. Hummingbirds at my feeder. It's amazing that no matter how cold this spring is, the birds are in song. These are all wonderful. So much synchronicity today in Lectio Divina. This morning, reading Psalm 139, God was talking to me about rebirth, and a friend shared a prayer about the new and how challenging it is. So lovely. Okay, a couple more. A morning walk in our neighborhood park with views of old oak trees that remind me of Thurman's tree. My nephew was born yesterday, the same day as his granddad's birthday, who is now in his 70s. Oh, that's a beautiful little connection there. Found a message in a bottle. The maker of a pepper shaker I just bought left her name and the date she made the vessel. Ruby W, 1987. This fills my heart. A secret message to me left 36 years ago. Oh, thank you, my friends. So beautiful. And I have to echo that sense of being with all of you gives me a lot of hope and a lot of joy in continuing on. The chapters of life bring new growth and increasing love to share. So lovely. Thank you, my friends. Just back from my 12-step recovery program meeting, we are all miracles. Beautiful. Well, feel free to add any other images that come to you. And I'm going to share a little bit about what's coming this coming month in April. We're technically still in March, but tomorrow will be April. So as always, we have a lot of really wonderful things in store. So our book club for April is Mihi Kim Court's book, Outside the Lines, How Embracing Queerness Will Transform Your Faith. The wonderful book. Claudia Love and I had a great conversation, really thoughtful conversation with Mihi about what queerness means, what queerness means, especially when it comes to faith, how Jesus embodied queerness, and queerness being that sort of energy that pushes at the edges of things, pushes beyond the margins. And I tend to think of monks and artists as definitely falling into that category. So we have a podcast in both audio and video formats. If you want to listen to that conversation, you'd be welcome to, and encourage you to buy the book if you're interested in learning more about that and having what you might learn about your faith from the perspective of queerness. And then we have some monthly events coming up, some of our regular events, our contemplative prayer service on Monday, as I mentioned. So I'm going to be joined by Simon as usual. And then we have T also joining us, who sang that song I just played for you. T will be playing a few different songs for us. And our theme on Monday will be Holy Week, as we enter into Holy Week and really looking at the mystery of life and death and how we hold that tension. It's been a lot on my heart lately. So we'll move into that more deeply, and you'll have a chance to join your fellow dancing monks for some prayer together. And then Simon has his sacred chant service on the 17th. Therese Taylor Stinson, our wonderful Wisdom Council member, she will be leading centering prayer on the 19th, and Melinda will be leading her wonderful yoga practice on the 27th. And I will be doing Tea with the Abbess next month on Friday, May 5th. So that's next month's regular events. And then we have some really lovely special events coming up. Claudia Love Meyer, who's my partner in the book club conversations, She is going to be doing a 2-hour workshop on Good Friday on mourning pages. I love that title, Writing Your Grief. And Claudia Love, she lost her son a year and a half ago, her adult son, and knows a lot about grief and is a really just beautiful soul, and will have a chance to dive deep into those tender places together. And she'll give you some structure and a container for that. And then on the 15th, we're going to be diving into the wisdom of Howard Thurman. So that's part of why I wanted to introduce some of his wisdom here today in our session with Larita Coleman Brown. She wrote a fabulous book called What Makes You Come Alive, all about Howard Thurman. So she'll be leading us in a retreat, a 3-hour retreat on the 15th as part of our Mystical Heart series. So we're excited about that. And then for those of you who are really longing for some more Celtic wisdom, Simon and I are leading a workshop for One Spirit Seminary, which is the seminary he graduated from, which is actually on Sunday, April 23rd. It's an all-day workshop, actually online. And we'll be moving through all of the Celtic seasons, the whole Celtic wheel of the year together. So look forward to that very much. And then just wanted to share a little behind the scenes things, what we're working on. So you may sometimes look at our calendar and think, gosh, they have a lot going on. And that's true. And then there's also all this stuff behind the scenes that we love, love, love doing. So at the end of April and the very beginning of May, John and I are going to be working with our filmmaker friends to film a virtual pilgrimage that will be offering next year at the same time. So it's kind of a long process, but for Bealtaine or Beltane, which is May 1st, and it's one of the Celtic feast days. And we're going to be focusing on Saints Coleman, Saint Cerny, which of course our lovely dog is very happy about. Her name is Cerny, in case you didn't know that, and St. Patrick. So we're really excited about that. Betsy is busy at work creating video podcasts for the Mary prayer cycle. So we released that audio podcast last year, and she is hard at work creating dances for most of the songs. So that'll be coming this year in May and June. So you don't have to wait quite as long for that one. And this fall, I have a book coming out called The Love of Thousands, which is on angel saints and ancestors. And Betsy and I are creating a companion album and a prayer cycle for that. And Simon will be doing the audio podcast for that. That'll be coming out starting in September. So lots of exciting things going on behind the scenes. And sorry, I'm just gonna pull that down for a moment. See, there's a few quotes in here. Little entries in the chat. If you have any questions for me, feel free to put those in the chat as well, and I'll read through what we have here. The name of their album, Water and Bones. I keep hearing about bones these days. Yeah, lovely. I've been thinking about bones myself a lot. I've been working with Sharon Blackie's book, Haggitude, and she talks in the beginning there about this kind of midlife and beyond, menopause and beyond season, creating that sense of reducing what is unnecessary to ash. So my dog is in his last days, which is so sad, but also opens us for a new chapter of new freedoms for us. I'm so sorry, Vanessa, about your dog, because I know how hard that is. So sending a lot of blessings and prayers your way for that. Life continues through creativity from within. Our creativity joins with all creation and rebirth. Lovely. As we move into Holy Week, the Paschal mystery comes to mind, the willingness to die to self in order to be raised, walk a new life. And this, sorry, I have this thing over. Oh, here we go. And this is my first spring with hearing aids, and the birds are so loud. Love it. That's great. I love that. Oh, thank you, Melinda, for posting the podcast link. See, the diversity of unplanted plants springing up in my backyard include an unplanted little cluster of bluebonnets. So lovely. That sounds gorgeous. I really want to get out to the woods and see the bluebells in the woods we sometimes have here. Audrey's going to be in person with Simon in person on Monday at Cayuga, North Carolina. What a blessing this has been to me. That's wonderful to hear. Yeah, so Simon DeVoyle, many of you, most of you would know Simon, and he is actually at Cayuga Center in North Carolina for a month as the musician in residence. I'm mourning deeply the loss of part of the forest nearby, many old pine trees chopped down the past week. In my grief, I keep seeing images of seeds and new growth everywhere I go. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful image. Thank you for that. Holding you in tenderness over that grief. Today, I'm comforted by the joy in my life. My husband has dementia. I'm experiencing the grace of each day. I hear that hearing is the last thing to go. I'm finding something different. It's compassion and gratitude is the last thing, and that doesn't even go. It is that particular intelligence that guides us. It tells us what to say, what to do. My husband lives in that universe that allows me to allow myself to surrender that in my own world. Oh, that's really lovely. Thank you, Kathy May, and sending you lots of prayers and blessings for that whole journey. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, and so I'm familiar with the challenges and the grace of that journey. Yeah, sending you lots of love for that. Yeah, lovely. Ooh, that book sounds wonderful. Good, good, good. Yes, it is. It is. And I ask for prayers as I move toward becoming an oblate at St. Placid Priory. Oh, that's wonderful to hear, Marcia. Definitely lots of prayers. That's, as for those of you who don't know, that's also my community in near Olympia, Washington, where I'm a Benedictine oblate. So that's lovely. Good, good, good. Okay, well, we have a few minutes. If anybody has any questions or comments or things you've been wondering about the Abbey for, or suggestions that you have, or any other images you want to share. This is basically a kind of an open forum, chance for us to connect with one another, and yeah, just kind of an informal time of sharing. So I'd love to hear if you have any other questions. I'm really glad you enjoyed the meditation, Paulette. You're very welcome. Can I suggest a word for contemplation for this week? Ooh, so you gave me a challenge there, Tessa. Yeah. Let me just think for a moment so I don't just respond automatically. And just holding the image of, I'm thinking, holding the image of mystery, but also the unknowing, I think, is the word for me at the moment. So I'm just going to offer that as a possibility. What does it mean to rest into unknowing and see where that takes you? Beautiful. Good, good, good. Yes. This is my first visit here. Thank you. This is lovely, new life. You're very, very welcome, Linda and Jim. I'm not sure which one is actually here. Maybe it's both of you. And you're very welcome. And I'm delighted. We're delighted to have you. This is a lovely place, a lovely community of people. And this is a great opportunity just to sort of connect to what we do. I've just finished reading Sacred Time and have now moved on to Soul of the Pilgrim. So beautiful and helpful to me in this season, especially, but will continue to be helpful going forward. That's wonderful to hear, Vanessa. Thank you for letting me know that. I love thinking about the particular books that, find people at certain moments of their life. So that's wonderful. Denise says, first time here too, in such a lovely space. You're very, very welcome. You're very welcome. Yes, we'd like to think of this as, a space where you can show up and be just as you are, where you don't have to change anything about yourself other than opening your heart to that infinite well of compassion, and then seeing what happens when you let yourself just be bathed in compassion. Ginny says, I'm reading Sacred Time, sipping it slowly, and it is opening so much in me and around me. That's wonderful to hear. I love that. I love the rhythm of that book and the way it slowly opens out from breath to cosmos. Audrey's been going through the artist rule book with a friend as a book study 1 week at a time. This is my 3rd reading of the book as it continues to unfold for me. Thank you. You're very welcome. Yeah, the artist rule is definitely one I think worth revisiting because we continue to, I mean, just like being a Benedictine oblate, I never exhaust, the wisdom that the monastic way has for me. So I think it's worth renewing that. Was unknowing mentioned earlier in today's gathering? I might have used that word earlier. I'm definitely in that space of mystery and holding the tension of life and death and beauty and terror and all the things that we experience in the world, and how do we make space for the spectrum of that. Please can I ask for prayers for my son's friend. It's his funeral now, and he was only 20 and took his own life. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Rachel. Yes, absolutely. Lots of prayers. Zoe, first time here. Welcome, Zoe. What is Sacred Time? Sacred Time is one of my books. It's about basically the sacred rhythms of time, starting with the rhythm of the breath, moving out to the hours of the day, to the Sabbath rhythms of the week, to the lunar cycles of the month, to the natural seasons of the year, to the seasons of a lifetime, to ancestral time, to cosmic time. And it's about how when we really pay attention to the natural rhythms of time, as opposed to the very kind of linear chronos time that we live in, the clock time, the deadline time. When we live from this more organic kind of time, we get to touch into eternity, and we open up to a lot more spaciousness in our lives. So yeah, let me know if you end up reading that. Deep gratitude to you, Christine, and all of you in this communion of saints. That's a beautiful image. May God bless you richly in the new life which continues to well up within you, and your wonderful ongoing sharings with the rest of us, and for opening up new windows and doors for us. Bless you, Christine. Bless you all. Thank you, Sharon. That's a very beautiful gift. I appreciate that very much. Denise asked recommendations for the first of my books to read, please. It might depend a little bit on your particular interest, but I usually recommend starting with the Artist's Rule, because it is I feel like it's sort of the foundational book about the integration and the intersection of the monastic path and the creative path. And that's, while all my books touch on that in some way or another, that's the one where I really articulate that explicitly. So I would recommend starting with the Artist's Rule, particularly if you're here because you really are drawn to that, the path of the way of the monk and the path of the artist. So as you're planning, will there be any in-person pilgrimages or retreats again in the future? My time with you, John, and the Circle of Pilgrims in Ireland writing on the wild edges in 2019 was a profound experience. Ruth, that's so sweet of you to say. At the moment, there are still no plans for in-person pilgrimages, as I'm still sort of dealing with health issues and just kind of waiting to see how I can stabilize a bit, and then what makes sense for us. It was very challenging, as I'm sure it was for many of you in your own work, to have to cancel so many programs and when the pandemic hit. So we're discerning. We're not rushing into it, but we'll definitely let you know if that time comes again. And Melinda put the link to Sacred Time. Thank you for that. Anne had the privilege of going on Celtic pilgrimage with me many years ago. The grace of that week continues to unfold and deepen. I am in the presence of dear friend over time. Thank you. You're very welcome, Anne. That's lovely. Lovely to have so many first time people, and then several people who've been here to Ireland with us. What a lovely intersection. Dove of Peace Hermit, what a lovely name. First visit too, lovely to see so many people. That's great. Vanessa, me too, wonderful. Wonderful. And then Melinda also posted the link to the Artist Rural. And that's how Melinda found the Abbey. Yay. We're so glad that Melinda did find the Abbey, because she is such a gift to all of us, to me especially, but to all of you by proxy. Same here. I found it at a convent I was visiting and loved it. Oh, that's great to hear, Suzanne. Okay, what a blessing to be part of the Abbey the Arts loving community. What a beautiful, beautiful prayer. Thank you, Fran. Praying for your health, Christine, and you and John, in your time of discernment. So much gratitude for that. Is Artist Rule available on audiobook? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, the only book that I have that's on audiobook at the moment is The Soul Slow Ripening, which is the book on Celtic spirituality. I don't have control over what gets turned into an audiobook. It has to do with the publishers. So if you really want an audiobook, you might try Soul Slow Ripening, although I'm not the one who reads that book. So just as a little, little cautionary tale. Okay. All right, we're gonna close out here. I'll just read this one more quote. I'm halfway through the artist role and I'm in love with my pilgrimage. However, family and friends worry I've joined a cult or I'm practicing witchcraft. How do you respond to that fear and confusion they feel? Oh, I'm not laughing at, I know that it's just funny to me that people would think that what we're doing here is some sort of cult or something, yeah, offensive in any way. I suppose, that's a really good question. There are obviously a lot of people out there who have a certain perspective and a need for things to be really kind of clear and boundaried and yeah, sort of very set in a certain way. And when you start to go to the edges, which in my experience, people who are drawn to the contemplative life and who are drawn to the creative path are people who dance on the edges. And so they're going to inevitably push the boundaries of what some people feel comfortable with. And that's for me where spirit is at work. So yeah, all I can say is, maybe reassure them that, all the work is rooted in this ancient monastic wisdom. And then, they're going to obviously have to make their own discernment around that. But I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. But anyway, that's sort of where I would respond with. Yeah, and maybe ask friends exactly what the fear is. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Mary. Thank you for that. I love the community wisdom here, and invite them to join you for one of these teas. That's also a great suggestion, Paulette. Thank you for that. All right, my friends, we're kind of at the end of our time. So I want to read you one last quote as we close out. Thank you for the really wonderful comments and questions. As always, I always so enjoy this chance just to have the chat, as they say here in Ireland, which is a very yeah, it's a very Irish thing, just to have the chat be kind of casual and informal and see where that conversation leads you. So I invite you to take a couple of nice deep breaths. And just to return to that rhythm of inhale and exhale, of beginnings and endings. And to hold whatever has stirred in your heart from this time, the meditation earlier, and then the conversation through the chat that we've been having. And to return to your heart and feeling that sense of connection to the beloved. And then I'm going to read this quote twice from Howard Thurman. It's a pretty popular quote that you might have heard. And as with a lot of things on the internet, I'm sometimes skeptical about whether things are properly attributed. So I'm really grateful because Loretta Coleman Brown who wrote the book on Howard Thurman that's just came out. It's titled What Makes You Come Alive, and she tracked down the source of this quote, and it is indeed from Howard Thurman, and it's actually from a conversation that he had with someone. So this is the quote: "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive." Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. So, my friends, I wish you lots of blessings, and especially on your own discernment for what makes you come alive and how you might live that out in the world, how you might gift that to the wider community. And hopefully we'll see you at some of our other programs. Monday is our contemplative prayer service, and next Friday is our morning pages, Writing with Grief workshop with Claudia Love. And Melinda will send out links for other events and the recording. So thank you so much, and much love to all of you, and we'll see you again very soon.